Yeah, when I look at this chart, it's not the best of looking charts. We made a video on Bitcoin yesterday and I said that we're breaking below two critical patterns. One of them was the symmetrical triangle and the other one was the head and shoulders. And I said that we've broken below the line of supports and it's possible that Bitcoin pumps again to the 107 regions. But if it does, don't have the feeling that we're going back into this triangle. It's likely going to be a rejection at prior supports turning into resistance. So that's what Bitcoin did. We came back up, we tested it, we found resistance, and we came back towards the downside. Sadly, I don't think the drop is over. I unfortunately don't think that the drop is over. I think we will go a little bit lower, and that specific price point I will tell you on today's updates. Guys and girls, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to destroy the like button. I think I'm getting a little bit sick again, and it's so crazy because I feel like I get sick like every 2 weeks, so it is what it is. But if you destroy the like button, I will for sure feel just a little bit better. There is a good sign. There is one bullish sign. Don't think it's going to be all doom and gloom because Jim Cramer just said that we entered into a bear market. So perhaps Jim Cramer could have just saved us all like this. It's possible. It's really possible. That's the fun of it, though. We want to stick to the serious technical business, and we'll go through some chart patterns and some price levels with you right now. So let's do that. And towards the ending of this video, I want to cover the importance of tomorrow. You might have heard, and a lot of people are scared about this. We have the Supreme Court likely going to remove some tariffs, but people don't understand the whole context of it. Yes, it's a scary event, but the actual implied decision will not go into effect tomorrow. It's going to go into effect in 2026 if the Supreme Court rules that President Trump shouldn't have the power to impose such tariffs. And it's not going to remove every single tariff. It's going to remove the tariffs that have been implemented since April of 2025. That we'll get to at the end of the video. Very important topic. So make sure you watch all the way until the end. All right, Bitcoin. Let's start with the daily time frame. So daily time frame, Jim Cramer, funnily enough, he mentioned that very discouraging close. Got to wait until Monday for a bounce. This was last week, and then you go down again. So I know it's fun and games with Jim Cramer, but you know, it is very accurate also. So when I look at this chart, keeping Jim Cramer in mind, we've broken below and it's confirmed. The breakdown from this line of support is now confirmed. We're below it and that's it. End of story. We can't do anything about it, sadly. And over on weeks, I also shared a pattern, a chart pattern, an ascending triangle pattern. So it wasn't two patterns that I shared. Now that I remember, there was actually a third pattern, and that is the ascending triangle bearish continuation. And I can bring it up to you here on the week's charts. On the daily, you can also make the argument there was a little bit of an ascending triangle. And when you break it to the downsides, you know, that's going to signify continuation because you came from bearish price action. And when you come from bearish price action, this becomes a more likely or bearish continuation. And that's currently playing out. And when we look at the targets of the symmetrical triangle and the bearish ascending triangle pattern or continuation pattern, we can assess that the outcome is likely going to be somewhere in the $95,000 region for the ascending triangle. And then the symmetrical triangle, even more scary because the height is significantly greater. So you put it below the breakdown zone and you're going to receive a target all the way in the $83,000 regions. Is this true? Are we going to go down to $83,000 now? Is that what's going to end up happening to us? Well, I don't have a bearish target at $83,000 just yet. It's not what I'm thinking of at the moment. I'm focusing more on the 54 simple moving average. And you're tired of hearing this. I know you're tired of looking at this moving average every single video now, but I've been saying this like over and over again. I think we're going to come down to it. It's the likely option. And that's what Bitcoin has been doing. We're literally going towards the 54 simple moving average. Another pattern, which I forgot I spoke about yesterday, was this double top. So all of these patterns have very bearish price targets, but I'm still in the belief that we're going to hit the 54 simple moving average at the 54 at 101, which I have a limit order to buy. I need to sign in again, but I have a limit order which I opened, and you saw that in yesterday's video. 101.7 is where the 54 simple is. I have a limit order to do one final Hail Mary buy-in DCA, and if you want to do that, link is down below for weeks where you can get a 20% deposit bonus, and Pinex to try their trading bots And when you deposit $100, you'll get a $100 bonus to try the trading bots, and they have more tiers so you can get more bonuses. You need to click this link to find out more. I'm still expecting a test at the 54 simple, maybe a wick below it, but depending on how we react, I still think the 54 simple is going to provide a bounce, because we got that bounce following a huge consolidation last year. You came to the 54 simple, it led to a pretty major bounce. Also in April, when you got the tariffs, that led to a pretty significant bounce to the upside. Is the magnitude of the bounce going to be the same? That's the question mark. Are you going to see a bounce into new all-time highs? Or are you going to see only a bounce into the bull and bear market support band, get rejected, and then see that bearish crossover? Like I've said in previous videos, I sadly think that that is the more likely outcome. I sadly think that we will get that bounce into the 110s again. Then you get the bearish crossover, and Bitcoin hits this level, the upper 69 to the lower 70s region. And then going into next year, when we get quantitative easing, we start our way towards upwards price movements. That's my base case scenario. Can I be wrong? Of course I can be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll be very happy. I'll be very happy. I'm not going to close my long positions until I see that confirmation of a bearish crossover. And we still don't have that bearish crossover confirmation. So I'm still long. And things can, Bitcoin can surprise us. This is post-halving year, and this is Q4. So we can be surprised. We can get the surprise bullish candle that you break above the bull and bear market support band and you start going to the 150s. Bitcoin can do this. This is why I am not exiting any long position. And I want to be clear with this. Not yet. Only if I see a bearish crossover between the bull and bear market support band and the 54 simple moving average. So in short, I'm still quite hopeful. When you look at the Fear and Greed Index, another fact that we cannot miss out on, it's extreme fear. You want to be buying according to prior price history. At extreme fear, that's a good time to be accumulating, not to be selling. You want to sell in greed. Last month was greed. That would have been a good time to sell. Now it's extreme fear. I don't sell extreme fear. And also, one more very important point is Jim Cramer. I mean, Jim Cramer is bearish. Do you really want to be selling when Jim Cramer is bearish? Do you really think that that's a smart decision to go forward with? So look, I just don't want to sell. Right now, I'm not thinking of selling. The gut instinct emotionally inside you, like there is a voice in your head that says sell, sell, exit, 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 but it just happens in every single drop. Even to the most professional trader, you still get that little voice inside of your head saying, exit everything, take your money out. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that until I see my trading parameters being met. Very quickly, before I jump into President Trump, Ethereum, that's also coming towards our target quite nicely. I think that the 3.365 region is going to be tested, so some more bearish price movement is to be expected for Ethereum. Solana specifically is looking very bearish too. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a dump into the 120s. So Solana, I'm not so convinced about. And altcoins, you guys know, I'm not going to open any new derivatives long positions until you can see the descending line on many of these altcoins being broken back towards the upside. That's the case for Cardano. For spot, I think it's a good time to be buying for spot, but not for, in my opinion, derivatives. Dogecoin, same line. So until these lines are broken to the upside, I'm not going to be entering into derivatives long positions. And we know that when these lines are broken to the upside, these altcoins go absolutely insane. And I will be opening positions when the time comes. But for now, I'm not doing so much altcoin trading apart from Ethereum and Solana, really. But yeah, that's the quick altcoin markets. Let's go through President Trump and why tomorrow is important. So if you guys don't know, tomorrow there is a Supreme Court discussion that's going to be analyzing whether if President Trump or any sort of executive that's in power should have the right to go ahead and introduce massive amounts of tariffs on other countries. See, there was this rule that was created in 1977. It is the IEEPA imposition that you can use this imposition to create some sort of economic tax. They don't really specify tax. They just say economic regulation on other countries when there's a time of national security. So let's say, I don't know, you're on the brink of God forbid, potential war, for example, you can impose this economic regulation, to regulate imports in a case of national emergency, and that's declared due to threats to the national security, foreign policy, or the economy. But they only say regulation. They don't say that you can tax other countries with tariffs. That law that was created in 1977, it doesn't include the wording of tariff or tax. And there is a very, very large voice that is supporting the idea that only Congress should be able to impose taxation on other countries, right? And I tend to side with an argument that I think tariffs at this scale, where you're doing it repetitively and constantly, and it's impacting businesses, so on and so forth, it's impacting inflation, like that decision should only be given by constitution, and it shouldn't be given constantly, like on a very frequent basis, by the executive, using that sort of clause saying that it's a national emergency. You know, it's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong, I could be right. It doesn't really matter because the Supreme Court will give their decision, and their final decision will be issued between January to June of 2026. So it's not going to be like, okay, tomorrow they decide, and then boom, that's the rule now. No, it will be issued between January and June of 2026. The oral arguments will be taking place tomorrow, and the ruling will not be issued tomorrow. The decision will be taking place between January and June of 2026. So there isn't going to be so much of, I think, market volatility is what we expected. But obviously, it's important to hear what the discussion is overall and see which way the Supreme Court is siding towards. If they were to say, okay, we want to get rid of what Trump is doing, then only the tariffs that were imposed since April of 2025 would be removed, not the tariffs that were issued in Trump's first presidency or during other presidencies. So the universal reciprocal tariff of 10 to 50%, that would be gone. The China fentanyl emergency tariff, that would be gone. The steel aluminum tariff up to 50%, that would be gone. The household goods tariff between 10 to 25%, that would be gone. Heavy trucks tariffs, pharmaceutical tariffs of up to 100%, that will be gone. Semiconductors, that will be gone. Okay, a lot of big things will be gone. Yes, I know that prior tariffs will not be impacted, but still pretty large ones will be impacted, and a lot of the negotiations that Trump is doing will be affected. So here comes the sort of conundrum. Okay, a lot of people in my community have been saying that if tariffs are gone, because markets like the idea of free trade, supported by whenever President Trump introduced tariffs, markets dumped. Like, I understand that markets like free trade, and usually you pump on free trade news. The thing is, the dollar has been, the dollar is losing value over the past year when tariffs were introduced. So if you stop tariffs, then likely the dollar is going to gain in value. And if the dollar gains in value, then risk on assets fall. That's number one. Number two, President Trump has been negotiating sort of the security of America and other countries using the tariffs as sort of an economic tool, right? So if all of those are gone, then you're going to be facing a time of massive geopolitical uncertainty all of a sudden. Like, what's going to happen now? You know, is peace going to be kept? Are ceasefires going to be kept? Is the relationship between China and America now going to be the same? So on and so forth. So I think that geopolitical uncertainty can cause a little bit more of market shakiness in the short term. Maybe in the long term, it's going to be bullish. But in the short term, I think it would still cause a drop. So that's my analysis of the whole Supreme Court and tariff event taking place. But with that said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. And I'll see you all on the next video tonight, because I'm going to be recording a video with Da Vinci and Carl and On the Moon Show Daily Crypto Live, where we will be going live together, me, Carl, and Da Vinci. So guys, with that said, bye-bye. I'll put the end screen for the live stream right over here so you can click it and wait until we go live in 3 hours.